via the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Pat Kerwin in about 25 minutes to talk the NFL as a whole, but we bring back Roy Cummings, he of pewterpirates.com, pewterpirates.com. Follow Roy on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn. Roy, first off, as always, hope you and your family are safe and well, and thanks for your time. How are you?
All good. All good here. Thanks, guys. Hope the same for you.
And Roy, we have been talking, either the two of us together or separately with you, for nearly 2 full decades. And I ask this as somebody who has witnessed a lot of Buccaneers football in that time. Roy, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 18 years. The last time they played a good team and played that well in beating them. I mean, am I wrong? Has it been about 15 years since they played a game like that?
You know, it's been 15 years since they played games like that consistently. Now, there was a game a few years back when Jameis Winston was a rookie, and they went to Philadelphia, and Jameis Winston had a big night, 5 touchdown passes. There was a game in Atlanta when Quan Alexander was a rookie, and he just lost his brother that weekend in a horrible accident, and they just played lights out. They've had moments like this, but they were just moments. This is a sign that this is something that can be extended, that this is going to be something that they're going to do consistently, that this team is starting to get it's peaking in a way. It's a little bit too soon for it to peak, but it's showing that when it has to, it can really step up and play at a high level on a somewhat national stage against a really tough opponent, and that's a great sign.
And to me, Roy, more than anything, we knew, we were hopeful with Brady and the receivers and all that was there offensively that we could see an offense that did great things, but this game was realistically won with defense. They lined up and kicked the snot out of Aaron Rodgers and company. And if you're a Bucs fan, that offense has a long way to go. To me, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, there really is. And, it starts with those 2 linebackers, Devin White, obviously Lavonte David playing at an extremely high level. The pass rush is exceptional right now. Todd Bowles is really bringing the pressure. We're seeing evidence almost every week now that the young kids in the secondary are really maturing. And, when the offense takes advantage of what the defense sets up for them, that's complimentary football. We've heard Bruce Arians talk about that. And finally we're seeing it. We're seeing it come to fruition, and it's a lot of fun.
And Roy, maybe that's the reason why I went as far back as I did, because when Tampa Bay was playing in meaningful games and winning them in the 2000s, they were doing it defense first. And even though this is Brady and his weapons and this, that, and the other thing, as Mark pointed out, as you witnessed, they won that game with defense. They reminded me as if Monty Kiffin was still defensive coordinator. Lavonte David is Derek Brooks. Ndamukong Suh is Warren Sapp. Particularly, treating Aaron Rodgers the way Sapp used to treat Favre. It really did look and feel like old times.
Yeah, it was a throwback, no doubt about it. And, a little bit different style, obviously, because, the old Bucs played Tampa 2 and
right.
a 4-3 scheme. Here you got a 3-4 scheme, and they're just bringing a lot of pressure. I mean, Monty Kiffin didn't blitz much. They just kind of basically said, we'll bend, but we won't break, and we'll let you go 80 yards. But at some point, you're going to make a mistake, and we're going to take advantage of it. Here, this Bucs defense forces mistakes. You see them. They don't always force the turnovers, but they get them. And pressure is a big part of their game plan. So it's a little bit different style. And if you really want to know the difference between the two teams, 15 years ago and now, it's the offense. The Bucs, in those glory days when they even won the Super Bowl, the offense was good. It wasn't special like it is now. This offense has always going to be have the potential to score 30 plus points. Back in the day, it was give us 17 and we'll take care of the rest, and which is asking a lot of the defense. But right now, this team can score 37, and the defense can keep the other team to 17. So it's a different era. But to be honest, it may even be more exciting. Fans probably going to like this team even better because it's a lot more exciting.
Oh, there's no doubt when you have Evans and Godwin and the slew of tight ends, and now you've got 3 running backs of which all can play a little bit. But more importantly, and it was pointed out last night in the first of the 2 Monday night games, Buffalo took a lot of undisciplined penalties, and they're a good team, but they get penalized a lot. Tampa got penalized a lot. They didn't get penalized on Sunday. Not a penalty. I believe it's the first time since '83 that they've played a game penalty-free. That's remarkable in today's NFL, but it does show you how important it is to play clean football.
Yeah, it really does, and it is remarkable because, again, that's a very good football team they had on the other side. You would think that at some point someone on that side would have forced somebody into a holding call. There would have been, a false snap here and there. But, look, these things happen now and then. It's pretty amazing. It's like you can't. I mean, I wouldn't say the Bucs played a perfect game, but it was pretty close to perfect. And not just because they didn't have any penalties, but I mean the defense did everything it wanted to do. The offense was humming again after the first quarter, and you can't ask for much more than that.
Well, now they have to back it up, though, for as excited as we are and how terrific Sunday was. The Raiders are pretty good, and ironically, it's John Gruden's Raiders. And we, good enough to beat Kansas City in Kansas City. I mean, Roy, I keep looking at Tampa's schedule, and I think Tampa's good, really good. But I see a lot of difficult games on it. I thought they were going to go 10-6 this year, not because I didn't think they were going to be a really tough playoff out, but because they were doing a lot of traveling. There was going to be a lot of prime time games, a lot of short weeks for the Bucs when their opponents have longer weeks to prepare. Gruden's got 2 weeks to prepare for his former team here. I mean, this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, and the Raiders are playing pretty good football right now, so they're going to be feeling good about themselves. The Bucs are going to be feeling good about themselves, and rightfully so. And you're right. Look, I thought that the last couple of weeks were going to be a much better test of the Bucs than the first month or two. I thought New Orleans would be a tough game, but the Chargers really weren't the Chargers that we thought they would be. The Falcons, obviously, not a difficult opponent at this point. Getting a little bit better now that our buddy Raheem Morris is in charge. We'll see how that goes, but. No, you're right. John Gruden's got things going a little bit in Oakland. They've got momentum, so another good matchup. But I mean, I don't think anybody thought it would get any tougher than Green Bay, and they just as you said, they just wiped the floor with them. So we'll see what happens. But every Sunday's different. You can look perfect one week or near perfect one week, and then the next week you don't recognize that team again, and so we'll see where it goes.
Well, that, in a nutshell, is the NFL. He is Roy Cummings. Follow him on Twitter at @rcummings, FHCN. Shady played, Fournette didn't. I do think the one thing that we're starting to see, Roy, and I'm curious if you agree, there are still all these great weapons, but and O.J. Howard out, but with Brate and with the way Gronk blocks, skip the fact that he had his first touchdown, caught 5 balls, and was targeted more than we've seen. The way he blocks with Fournette coming back, this team can be Patriot-like in the fact that if they want to run on teams, it seems that they're finding the ability to do so, and that should make Brady even more dangerous.
Oh, absolutely, and that was always the game plan, was to make sure that you had a good, solid running game. And Bruce Arians is not the kind of guy who wants to go out and spend a whole lot of money on running backs. He doesn't really want to use high draft picks on them, but the Bucs did that. They picked up Ronald Jones, and boy, I guess everybody's happy now that they didn't just dump Ronald Jones the way everybody wanted to about 2 weeks into his career. That was kind of the prevailing sentiment throughout Buccaneer Nation, and was that this guy was a bust. And now look at him. I mean, what's interesting about Ronald Jones to me is that here's a guy who, as a rookie, could barely get to the line of scrimmage without going down. Now he's third in the league in yards after the catch. I think that's exceptional. yeah, it helps that he's getting some tremendous blocking up front, but he's making a lot of yards on his own. You add Leonard Fournette to that. Now you've got a power back in there, even more powerful than Ronald Jones, and he's turning into be a bit of a power back with obviously that breakaway speed. The blocking they're getting from Gronkowski, who seems very happy to do it. That's a great thing. It just seems like everybody's kind of buying into that because they have to have that running game. That's really what sets up the passing game. And what I think one of the better things you've seen here out of this team over the last couple of weeks in particular is that they've played games without some of these key players. They've played games obviously now without O.J. Howard, without Vita Vea. They've played games without Leonard Fournette, and it hasn't shown. I mean, it's not like they're hurting. This team, a lot of people thought depth would be the concern. What happens when they lose some bodies? Well, they've lost some key bodies, and they haven't lost a step at all. In fact, they've only gotten better.
Made a sneaky deal after the game, acquiring a veteran run plugger from the Jets. Granted, he's 34, but a very popular player and still productive against the run. He's obviously going to be somebody they working in the rotation to help replace Vita Vea. It's still very difficult to run on Tampa Bay. Do you think that there's another sneaky move in the Bucs? I think we're all worried about depth on the offensive line. Do you think that if there's one area that they go and give a 6th or 7th round pick to acquire somebody, do you think that's still the area?
Well, theoretically, yeah, you'd like to think, okay, there's a spot there that they can, but it's hard to do because unlike a defensive line where it's just, go after the guy with the ball, go after the quarterback. You can go pretty straightforward there. Offensive line, you've got to learn the scheme, you got to learn the snap counts, everything else. That's a little bit more difficult, and there's probably about a good 3-4 week at least period there where a lineman's got to come in and know exactly what's going on before he's going to feel comfortable and play at a decent level for you. So, I mean, it's worth it if that opportunity's there just for depth purposes. But I think at this point, if it's an offensive lineman, you're looking more at next year. And I don't know that the Bucs, again, I've said this before, I don't think they have an eye at all on next year. It's all about, I mean, one of the reasons they made the move they did after the game this week is because, I mean, they're looking pretty good up front, obviously. I mean, you look at the game they had, it's like, okay, they don't miss Vita Vea. Well, actually, they probably fear that they might. And it's all about the Super Bowl this year. It's Super Bowl or bust. So they will do whatever is necessary to fill any hole that they have on the roster with the best possible player. And if it means giving up a 5th or 6th, 7th round draft pick for a veteran lineman, they'll do it. And they'll coach him up as best they can and get him ready. And, maybe the thinking would probably be, what if we lose somebody in week 14? What if we lose somebody in week 15? Well, by then, there's a chance that this guy does have a feel for what we need to do, and he can be the guy we need him to be, and it's not going to be a detriment to put him in the lineup. So it makes sense. So nothing they do at this point will surprise me. I think they keep adding to this team when possible, if possible, because, again, it's Super Bowl or bust. That is exactly what they're thinking. They're on their way, and they feel better about themselves every week. They feel like they could be 6-0. Reality is they could be 2-4 as opposed to 4-2. But truth of the matter is they've won games. They've been resilient. They've bounced back from bad starts. The defense has been exceptional. The offense has put the points on the board. Special teams have been good. They're going for it. So yes, anything that happens now won't surprise me.
And Roy Cummings deserves credit because Roy, for 2 years, kept saying, hold on to Ronald Jones. I think there's something there when everyone else wanted to get rid of him. Roy, as always, thanks for your time and your insight. We wish you all the best and safe travels. And we'll do this again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's always my favorite time to spend time with you guys.
Thanks, Roy.
Roy Cummings. PewterPirates.com, PewterPirates.com. Follow him on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. Roy Cummings talking Tampa Bay Bucs. Mark, the most impressive thing to me is Brady got his butt kicked by the Bears. They committed 11 penalties. They gave that game away. For as much as Chicago did right, that was Tampa Bay's game to win. They were in control of it the whole way. They let it get away. And they screwed it up themselves. They come out, Brady virtually untouched, no penalties. They are the ones instead do the butt kicking, whereas 10 days earlier, they had it physically handed to them too many times than not. And Brady and Gronkowski clearly, they got together with Arians and said, without O.J. Howard, we got to work him into the passing game more. Here's some of the stuff we did in New England that works for us. They ran plays and patterns against the Packers they had not run previously this year. And guess what? It worked.